Hey, what's up, Mike? What's going
Hello,
on,
buddy.
man? Doing all
Happy
right. Doing all
Happy
right.
Monday. It's Monday again.
It's Monday. Yeah, I mean it's nice out. Can't complain. Can't complain.
It'll be
Got up a
raining
little late
soon
this
up
morning.
here. What's that?
What's that?
I said it'll be raining soon down here in sunny Florida.
I mean,
Summertime in
it's
Florida, man. It has to rain.
it's that swamp. That's that swamp thing, right?
Oh, always. That's why it's so green here, man. It rains a lot.
Yeah. Well, I lived down there for a while, but it's too hot for me. It's
Well,
too hot for me. So yeah, man. So what's going on in your neck of the woods, man? You writing up some deals?
been busy. We have it's the usual mix, right? There's uh right now a lot of investor, fix and flip deals. They're tending to not flip and maybe keep it as a rental property. So we're seeing that kind of thing
Mm,
start to, come together. Interest rates are a little higher, right? So properties are selling lower. Um, um, so we're seeing those. We're seeing some commercial refis because, a lot of commercial loans tend to be short term, right?
yeah.
Commercial loans are 3-year balloons and things like that. So those guys are coming up, and those could be tricky because of the conditions when they were originally produced are not the same as the conditions in the market now, right? Rates are higher. You might be lower, insurance is higher, things like that. So it's affecting some
Yeah.
of the cash flow questions on those deals.
Yeah.
I
So I
think
mean,
that
you got
might hear my thing beeping over here.
you got Alexa over there trying to tell you what to do.
Yeah, she's yelling at me.
I mean, that's all you have in your life is the women yell at you all day, right?
You ain't kidding.
So
Yeah.
yeah, man. I mean, these borrowers, right? I mean, they're I don't know. Have they gotten more intelligent, or are they now just getting caught with their pants down?
I was just having this conversation. So I've got a really good friend. She is the so in Florida's a title state. For
Hmm.
example, Georgia, by comparison, is what we call an attorney state, meaning the title
Right.
company handles the closing in Florida. Title attorneys handle closings in Georgia. Another state, California is an attorney state as well. So she is a title rep for a fairly large company here in Florida. They've got about 40
Hmm.
offices, maybe 30, 39, 40 offices. And she and I have actually been friends in the business for about 18 or 19 years now. But her role at the company she's at, she is the investor relations manager, right? So
Hmm.
her job is to make make happy with investors, and they're a firm that focuses on that type of business. And we were talking about realtors in
Hmm.
this market, and she said, "There's a lot of realtors are waiting. They're trying to see what's going to happen, what's coming." And the interesting point was, she said, "Gosh, investors too, they're waiting." And I said, "Those are not investors, the ones that are waiting. Those are speculators,
Hmm.
right? The guys that are buying properties when interest rates were 4%, and in the amount of time it took to renovate it, the property value appreciated 20%, and they were able to sell it in 6 days and make a profit. Those were not investors, those were speculators. Because like a game of musical chairs, when the rates started climbing up, a lot of those guys got stuck holding that property that they didn't buy right. And I saw it happen. I mean, I can't tell you how many investors screaming in the phone saying it's worth more than that. Well, we have an appraisal, and
Yeah.
we're looking at the comps, and those are the comps. The comps are the comps. Value's value. And so that is the difference, I believe, between investors and speculators right now. Today's
Yeah.
market, sure, rates are a little bit high. Guess what? That means a stinky house is going to sit on the market a little bit longer, and they're going to be more
Yeah.
amenable to an investor type of offer. You know,
Yeah.
when
So
rates
these
are four
speculators kind
percent,
of got bumped, huh?
yeah, absolutely. Wait, when rates were 4%, a stinky house still sold over asking price with no appraisal contingency. and 43 backup offers. That's not, that's not a good deal for anybody. They bought it over market. Now houses they're setting for a minute. So this is a great time for realtors to
Hmm.
actually modify their book of business a little bit and start creating or appealing to real investors by understanding
Yeah.
how to work the system, how to use the jargon, and you know how to play the game. And that was the conversation that she had. We're actually going to we're putting an event together to
Yeah.
work with realtors to help them understand
Yeah.
how to work with investors.
Yeah. Because it's surprising with like, you know, 80+% just have no clue. They don't know what to do and how to get into it. I mean, that's in essence, where real pros came from. Is trying to
Mhm.
get, educate realtors on how to get into the commercial side and do all that. I mean, we have um, a course that's on the website that you host, that you're the instructor to. We do that together. It's kind of our first stage. We're getting more stuff out of there, but hopefully that can help people out because the biggest thing that we want to avoid is the gurus. I wish I could have the what's that the that Michael Myers thing where he's like the guru guy.
That's right. It's back in the day we used to say it, and I think it's still a saying now. I don't know, maybe it's just us old guys, but those who can do, those who can't
Hmm.
teach. And
Yeah.
that's part of the reason. Listen, I do a lot of workshops and I do a lot of training and education. I do. We're starting a summer series for loan officers, for mortgage professionals. It's sponsored by an association, a mortgage
Hmm.
association, but we're offering that content. And interestingly, frequently people ask, well, why don't you charge? Or if the association or if whomever's sponsoring it, they maybe charge a small fee because they want to raise money for their organization. But why don't we charge
Hmm.
more or charge for it? Because at the end of the day, for us and for me, my philosophy is the more I can do to help whether it's a realtor or an investor or a mortgage professional become successful, we're going to pick up transactions. We're going to make money with them.
Right.
I remember the gurus, man. Just every time someone says that, I have this memory in my memory banks back in the bad old days of the big three what do they call them, three ring circus speaker shows,
Oh
and
yeah.
we'd be out there for what the event was. I'm pretty sure it was one in Vegas that I was speaking at, and I was you know a breakout speaker, right? We did the little side sessions, and this guy was uh, doing this event. This speaking this class, and everybody was like, "Oh man, you got to go see." And I won't even say his name. I remember his first name. I don't remember his last name, but just in case, I'm not even going to say his first name. But you got to go
Yeah.
see Bob because dude, he brings it in, man. He's raking it in. He's making all this money, and I swear to God, um, I walk in the back of the room, and I very seldom went into those sessions. I did my own sessions. I didn't sit through anybody else's. And open up the back of the room, and I swear to God, it was Joel Osteen on stage, and he's man fire and brimstone, just firing them up, getting them excited, and they're all worked up, and he says, "I'm gonna let you in on a secret." He had a little bit of a southern, whatever kind of that.
Boy.
I'm gonna let you in on a secret. You know, if you want to make life changing money, you're in the right place. And then he went on to do this whole little shtick on if you want to make $100,000 in as a real estate investor, the secret. I'm going to give you the formula. Take notes. And so I'm like, oh man, maybe he's going to give them some content. This might be interesting. This might be good. Here's the secret. Take notes. So you find a house that's worth $300,000 or whatever the amount was that he said, right? Back then it was probably 200, right? You find a house that's worth $300,000. and you buy it for $200,000, and then you sell it for $300,000. That's what he did. And but he had a little takeaway. Like in sales, they call it a baby negative, right? If you have a baby negative, it makes you more credible.
Right.
So
Like this
he
guy.
says, how much exactly? How much? He asked. He was like, "How much did you just make? If you did that, how much did you make?" And they all said, $100,000. And he said, "No, no, you didn't." Here's the baby negative. He said, "Don't forget, you have to pay, property taxes and real estate commissions and so on and so forth." And he said, "But let's just say you made $75,000. Do you remember, guys? I told you I was going to show you how to make 100. Who wants to make 100? Woo! They're all yelling, screaming, like old Barry White concert, throwing their panties on the stage, and and he goes, "You want to make 100? Do it again. Just do it twice." Oh wait, bad math. You made 150. Who's mad at me? I accidentally told you how to make 150, not 100. And they
Oh
were
my
like,
God.
if you want to learn more, go to the back of the room and sign up for this. And they were like a little, yeah, it was like sheep to the slaughter, dude. And
Gosh.
I'm reminded of, every time I think of that, I'm reminded of these guys that are doing, there's guys out there. There are some that are talented, there are some that are knowledgeable, and there are some that are legit. And then there's a truckload that are not. They've gotten just enough information to be dangerous.
Oh
And you
yeah.
think about, like, you see that with Sub-2. I was approached by a Sub-2 guru. Sub-2, if you don't know what that is, to the audience, Sub-2 is when you're buying a property subject to an existing mortgage,
Right.
right? So I own a house, I'm in financial trouble of some kind, and Brandon, the investor, comes to me and says, "Hey, dude, I'll give you $10,000 to move out. We take over your mortgage. You sign over the house to us." And there's a litany of reasons why that's dangerous and not good. One of them is a due on sale clause that pretty much every mortgage has, but we're not going to get into the mechanics of it. Just know that that's something out there that the gurus are talking
Right.
about. And there are some people executing this reasonably ethically. I'm not going to say
Right.
perfectly, but there are some good guys out there, and I've got some friends that are digging into this part of the investing world, and it makes sense right now. It's not a bad strategy.
Yeah. I
But
mean, the rates are
this
less.
Sub-2 guru, who's, if you went on his website, man, he's got the bling and the blang and the drip, and I don't know, is that the right word? Drip, right? He's got the drip and the drap and the
Maybe
whatever,
you got
and
flash TVs. So.
yeah. So he's got all that stuff, and he is the guru and the bogwam of Sub-2s. And he contacted me and said, "Hey man, I got to refinance this property." And he had turned this property that he acquired, Sub-2, he had turned this property into a rent by the room. They call it pad split. Okay, I was gonna say
Yeah.
DoorDash, but I knew that wasn't right. They call it pad split, where
Right.
you get 4 or 5 people renting the house, and they're all individual leases, and
Mm-hmm.
someone's renting the master bedroom and the second bedroom, and they're renting the bedrooms, and almost like college dorm style, you know they share the common areas. Well, what he did was he closed in the dining room and made that into another bedroom, and he took out the refrigerator and put a vending machine in there. He put a coin op in the washer dryer, in the laundry room. So I mean, he
Yeah.
made this into a little mini apartment complex, and it's really not a horrible idea. But he did that without permits, like the enclosing the dining room, right?
I was gonna say, Lord.
And then when he wanted to refi, he didn't bother telling me any of that. So now we're in the, he paid for an appraisal, and guess what? When you do an appraisal, the appraiser is going to go out and look at the property and take pictures, right?
Yeah.
That's what they do. And he was making, let's say, I don't remember exact amount, let's say he was making $6,000 a month on this house. It's pretty
Okay.
freaking good. Um, and his payoff, whatever the mortgage payoff was like 400K. The appraisal comes in because you can rent a bedroom for more than $1,000 right now
Hmm.
in a lot of markets here in Central Florida. I know you can. Um, but the appraisal came in at like 410. His payoff was 400. So there's not
Oh, wow.
equity to do a
Yeah.
refinance on an investment property.
Right.
And so the thing starts unraveling, and of course the appraisal was, subject to repairing the kitchen and all of that. And of course the underwriter is going to look at the property, right? And the underwriter is going
Hmm.
to say, this is not, a rental property. This is a pad split. It's not the same thing. Because when an investor, a lender underwrites a property, what are they thinking? They're thinking, how can I get out of this property if
Hmm.
borrower defaults?
Right.
So what's the highest and best use of that property is selling it to a residential family that's going to live in the house. The lender now knows, if we did use this house as collateral, man, we got to fix the kitchen, we got to fix the laundry room, we got to fix you know unpermitted modifications to the house. He,
Right.
oh, he had some storage units built into the garage. The garage door didn't open. You went in through the kitchen, right through the door into the garage, and he
Jeez.
had like lockers in there, so it was just plywood, probably framed out and just plywood things. And so, here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, you're in the fourth bedroom. You have storage space number 4. You put your own padlock on it. You go in
Jeez.
and you put your crap in there. I mean, it's ingenious, right? No one's going to think this guy's got a bad idea, except he didn't understand financing.
Yeah. Obviously.
He created, and it's a cash flowing property, but he has a balloon payment. The owner of the house is still on the mortgage. The seller of the house that he bought it from is still on the mortgage, and his
Yeah.
agreement with them was that would balloon, and he would pay that off within 12 months or 24 months or whatever it was.
Right.
And there wasn't any way he could do it. There was no way he could do it. So he didn't understand the
Mm.
financing piece, how money drives the bus as an investor, right? It's all well and good to say, you buy that house for $100,000 and you sell it for $200,000. It's all well and good to say that, but if you can't get into the house in the first place, or you can't refinance out, or this is why, as investors, I always say, be careful of uh, mobile home parks, for example, right? Mobile home park
Hmm.
could be a great cash flow, or mobile homes
Yeah,
individually.
there's a bunch of. I keep seeing a lot of that stuff online now, man. Everybody's hot for manufactured parts, blah blah blah. It's like, you
Yeah.
know, I
Well, and
guess
a
if you
lot of
bought it
people
like
want to
a
buy
home.
them, and they cash flow really well, right? You can buy, if you have a piece of land, you can buy a mobile home for a used one in good shape, 40, 50K.
Hmm.
Okay, great. If your strategy is to keep it forever and rent it out, good on you. You can do that. But if
Right.
you're thinking, man, I'm going to fix this up, spruce it up, spiffy it up, and sell it, well, there's liquidity concerns about how easily your buyer can get financing. Same
Right.
as condos. Right now, so conventional lending, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac changed the guidelines on how they approve condos. FHA is a
Hmm.
nightmare on approving condos. So if I'm
Right.
buying a condo as a fix and flip, I'm gonna put money in, I'm gonna buy it with a hard money loan, and my plan is to sell it. Be aware, is it a warrantable condo? Is it spot approved? What is it? I got to know that before I buy it. Or I may end up
Yeah.
holding that condo for a lot longer with a hard money loan that's eating up my profit, and maybe I can't even refinance.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I
I
know a
always
guy.
recommend, and maybe I have a bias because I love money. I love
Yeah,
financing.
you're
I'm a
biased as hell,
geek.
man.
But yeah, I got a bias. But all the great ideas in the world, this Skippy's pad split deal, he, he took what could have been an amazing transaction, but he probably should have never bought it because it was over leveraged to begin with. The
Yeah, I mean,
seller's payoff was
yeah, I
too
mean
high.
those type of deals where you're not even. I mean, you have no equity in the deal, really. I mean, why
Yeah,
would you want to dump more money into it and then be like, hey, I want to try to leverage something I don't own? You're
right.
not going to get any money from it,
Yeah, I mean a sub
So,
two. If a sub two, if the value is high enough as compared to the leverage, right? In other words, if there's enough equity where, okay, I'm gonna buy the sub two, right? You own the house, I'm buying it from you. You have $100,000 payoff, and the house is worth 300. I give you 10 grand to move. Maybe I put 10, 15 grand into it to make it rent ready, and I put a renter in there. So I'm
yeah,
into it
those are
for let's say I'm into it for 150,
yeah,
and I'm paying your mortgage, but your mortgage is being paid by the rent, and I'm making a little
right,
profit.
yeah,
Now, maybe I can, that's probably a pretty easy refi. I've owned it for a year. So that means, and typically seasoning is 6 months. So I got to own it for about 6 months or more before I can use the appraised value, not the purchase price.
right,
Right. So I tell you, or you tell whoever was the owner in this scenario, I forget now, but the buyer tells the owner, brother, here's our contract. I'm going to pay you off in 18 months.
hmm
And I give myself time to get a renter in there, get it spiffied up, prettied up, and all that. Now it's rented. It's still worth $300,000. I have sufficient cash flow coming in from the rent. I'm at 50% of the value, right? Maybe I'm under $150,000 with my
yeah.
what I'm into it
You're
for.
on the cash flow side though, then
I'm
right?
cash
You're
flow,
not.
but I got to pay, but the owner now, the new owner has to pay off the old owner. They can get a refinance. You know, you
Mhm.
can get a refinance
Yeah,
on what's
because
called
you'd
a
be refinanced from
DSCR,
the
right? An
cash flow,
investor
right?
cash flow loan.
Yeah,
They're not using their own income. As long as they have decent credit, they can get probably 70, 75% on a cash out refi. So
hmm
that's a deal they could pull money out as long as the property's cash flowing and the appraisal supports the value and all that stuff. Just math.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
that's
Now
an
it
easy
makes sense.
deal,
But
man.
but you went into it knowing that the financing was going to work.
But you were already like, you know, a mile ahead, a mile above whatever the. I mean, you got to be in at fix and flip condition, like as far as like the risk you're taking, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna buy this house, you know, it's at 50% after repair value is what it would be like. I'm gonna throw a little money into it. I'm gonna rent it. Like
Mm-hmm.
anything over that for a subject to, I feel like is a terrible idea. Like because you want
Yeah,
to
I
get a
mean,
cash flow rolling and then try to buy the old owner out and leverage it as an investment cash flow property.
sure. Well, I'll give you an idea where a flip could work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's imagine the house.
Mm-hmm.
Bob's owned the house for many years. Maybe it came out of probate, and Pa owned the house. Smoked 4 packs of Lucky Strikes a day. Orange, shag carpet,
Mm-hmm.
avocado green appliances. Roof is 35 years old. So this is a reno.
Yeah.
But the guy that just inherited the house says, "Man, I don't have the money or the time or the experience." Maybe he lives in Michigan and the house is in Atlanta, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now what? Well, we can go in and we'll say, "Hey, dude, hey, Mr. Michigan homeowner, now you own Pa's house, right? Pa came down here to Atlanta, or you took a job at the whatever, right? Now we can go to that guy and say, "Hey, let's do a joint venture. Let's deed the house into an entity that we both own, or let's sell the house to us. We'll buy it, but you're going to be the lender," which is really all subject to is, right? I'm going to make a private loan for you, the homeowner,
Yeah.
in your favor with a lien against the house for the amount of money that you wanted, plus ongoing interest. And then we're going to reno the house. We own it. We're going to reno the house. So all we got to come up with is the money not to buy it, but the money to reno it. We're going to reno the house, sell it. When we sell the house, there's a mortgage in, Bob in Michigan's favor for what he agreed to sell it to us for. He's going to get paid off when the house sells to the retail end buyer after it's been renoed. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a subject to scenario. And there's a lot of different ways to
Yeah.
structure it. I teach that to realtors. They go into a listing and the listing is a piece of crap. Most realtors, they're going to say, "Oh man, you got to replace the roof, you got to paint, you got to change those olive green appliances and the
Would
shag
you want to
carpet and all
wholesale
that."
something like that, or just go ahead and go with the flip on that with that person with that that new inherited owner?
One in the flip.
I mean, wouldn't you just want to just do a purchase, fix and flip,
You could,
loan and do that
but
on that, or
so think of it this way: if you're the homeowner now.
right?
No. Let's do this reverse. I'm the homeowner. You're the investor.
Okay.
What's more appealing to you? You're going to buy it
Mm-hmm.
straight up. You're going to come up to me and you're going to say, "Dude, I'll buy your house for $100,000."
Right.
Okay, and you need 40 to fix it up, 30 to fix it up, whatever it is. Right
Right. Right.
now, on that $100,000, you're putting a down payment
Mm-hmm.
on the fix and flip loan, and you're paying
Right.
interest to a third party,
Yeah.
right? To the hard money lender. Or what if I told you, "Hey, bro, I'm the homeowner, you're the investor from me. Put a lien against the house for 120, but you don't have to make any payments during the time of your flip. Take
I
my
mean, I still want
interest
to go the
in
bank route.
front." What's that?
I'd still take the bank route
Why?
to get a loan on it. For me
Why
to
do you
pay
want a
a
loan
hundred
on
on
it?
the
Why do
house
you want to
versus
pay interest?
120.
What's that?
I mean, that's a 20%, hike on the house. I mean,
Okay, so the other way you're gonna pay closing costs, you're gonna pay interest, you're gonna pay some points, and that's an
mhm.
example. And you're gonna make a monthly payment every month.
I don't mean
And
I don't think it would equate.
the numbers are an example, but let's pretend.
Yeah.
So let's pretend it's a 90 that you get 90% financing. So you
I
get a
mean, the only
ninety thousand
difference that
dollar
you
hard
would
money
get in
loan
that,
at
I think, is the out
13%.
of pocket. I think if you would save a little money out of pocket and you wouldn't be as liquid in the deal, I mean, that would be the benefit. But
So
like, I don't know,
yeah, I
not
mean,
everybody's as
listen,
smart as you
there's a
at the
lot of ways to
situation.
skin the cat. But here's what I would tell you:
I don't want
a
to spend time
deferred
educating old
purchase.
ding dong.
So going in as a collaborative scenario
Hmm.
where that guy's willing to wait,
Hmm.
he's taking more of the risk, the seller,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he
right?
is.
Because I own the house, he just holds the paper,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, but you'd have to
You bought it
convince them.
without money out of pocket or without a lot of money out of pocket, and maybe you're deferring the interest, or maybe you're making the interest payment. In case if you're making an interest payment, then okay, maybe the payoff is, and don't take 120, that's not a real number. It could have been 110, 112, whatever,
Yeah,
but you roll the interest into the payoff,
yeah. I mean, that's
or
something
you
that you could
can.
swing. You'd have to
Mhm.
educate the guy on, like, I mean, hey
Sure.
man, you want to make an extra 10K on this, man? Like, hold the payment until I fix the house up in 3 months and sell it. I'll give you an extra 10.
Let me ask you this: what's the biggest obstacle for an investor to getting investment opportunities? It's often the money.
I mean, there's some money involved to it. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's definitely
I can tell you,
beneficial.
I get the calls. I'll say daily. We get the calls weekly. Newer investors saying, "Hey, man, you know what? I worked in construction. I know I'm pretty good with this, that, and the other thing. I'd love to start flipping houses on my own. Um, all right, man, let's talk about it. Okay, so you have a little bit of experience, but you don't have any documented experience as a rehabber, so you have zero experience, right? Because your name's not on a transaction. Credit, hey, yeah, oh no, my credit's 680, 700,
Yeah,
whatever. Okay, so credit's probably okay. That's not going to be a problem. Okay, you're going to need a down payment. You're going to need rehab funds,
yeah.
to
There's
be
a lot
paid
of
back on
pieces
your draw,
involved.
right?
I see it
So
every over 250. I think it would be more beneficial to be in that
well,
boat. But
for a lot of people, something like that gives them their first opportunity to get a
hmm,
flip on the books
right,
with less money out of pocket. And obviously,
yeah,
when we look at those, when we're involved with those, what are we looking at? I'm looking at survivability for them, right?
hmm,
Okay, so you're not putting a big down payment, you're just paying some closing costs on a private loan to the original homeowner, but what are your reserves?
hmm,
Where's the rehab money coming from,
right,
right? And in those
Yeah.
cases, and maybe it's a private loan. We put a private loan for, 30K, we pay it out to them in draws or whatever, right? I mean, there's ways to do that that give someone an opportunity to do a flip where otherwise they might not have because they came across a property
Yeah.
with a willing seller or a willing owner.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's, there's a smaller margin for that, and it has to be, things kind of have to sit a certain way. But yeah, I
Not
mean,
for, it's not for everybody. Listen,
no.
an experienced investor might consider it to get another deal on the books without
Yeah.
expending as much capital,
Right.
right?
But yeah, I mean, these are the
Because
things. This just, you're not going to learn this in these guru classes. So I mean,
no, because they don't do transactions.
they don't do transactions. They're gonna, there's. I'm not going to say any names, because this goes on the internet. But there's a Subject 2 guy out there. He's claim to fame subject guy, but he's a, it's a load of horse poo, man. Like he's just rolling on debt from like the last 15 years. Like you were saying, where you could buy a piece of crap deal and still win. He was doing this back in the day where now he has like all this rolling debt. He's like, oh, I'm a multimillionaire. Da, da, da. It's like, well, you're just rolling the debt over, trying to leverage the debt from one house to the next. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, you have 200 or 300 houses, but like
That's a
if
Ponzi
the
scheme.
banks came in and was like, hey, brother, we need our money, you'd be
Yep.
so screwed.
The risks on a Subject 2 transaction that everybody has to understand, and unless you're in the lending world, you probably don't understand, is this thing called a due on sale clause. And
Oh
in
yeah.
every mortgage, there's a clause in the mortgage that says when the property transfers ownership,
Mm-hmm.
the mortgage is due.
Yeah.
So exactly every Subject
Yeah.
2 transaction technically activates the due on sale clause. It
Right.
just
And
does.
I don't think, I think the banks are letting people slide right now on purpose. Not
They
because,
do. They do because if it's getting paid, they're not gonna it's not necessarily in their interest to create bad debt.
no, no, but I'm saying is like, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on with like land grabs and real estate because they don't make any more of it. Um, but I think eventually, I think eventually the banks are going to come in and they're going to start calling these loans on these people they know are in a Subject 2 situation. And then when these people can't pay up, I think they're going to call the loan, and then they're going to call Big Brother. We'll just call him White Rock. White Rock or
White
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 Stone is going to come in.
white pebble.
Is going to come in and be like, "Hey, I'll buy all these, 1,500 houses."
Yeah.
Uh, you know, Call me, conspiracy, but I think,
Well,
that
it'll
that's.
happen. It'll happen when defaults become a problem, right?
Hmm.
Until defaults are a problem, banks don't see it.
Yeah,
They don't see the problem till they feel the problem,
yeah,
right?
oh, yeah.
They're getting paid. It's think of it this way, because banks don't have a brain, right?
Hmm.
They have a group of people who may or may not fully understand, different players in different departments and teams and whatever, who
Right.
may or may not understand exactly what's happening.
Hmm.
So they know. I mean, think of it like loss mitigation. Right? Where's the loss if it's being paid? If it's being paid, well, they don't care.
Hmm.
Why would they? I'm not incurring a loss, so why should I start freaking out and incur an expense? Because when the bank's gonna they have to pay the attorneys and all that to maybe to foreclose on the property. So and due on sale creates that scenario. They know if we create a due on sale, if we hey, this has to be paid off. Chances are it's going to go into default, and when it goes into default, now they're going to have to foreclose. Well, that costs
Right.
banks money, and typically they don't make money at the end of the day. They suffer some sort of loss
Hmm.
because they're
Yeah.
slow, cumbersome, clunky, and they do things that don't make any sense to people like
Right.
you and me. And we look at it normally, we're like, dude, I would get it done fast. I would get them the heck out. I would get it on the market the next day.
Yeah.
Right? They don't do that. It sits with no power in Florida in the summer with a well, with a full toilet,
Yeah.
and a dripping faucet or a leak underneath the faucet, and
Yeah.
all of
And
a
I guess
sudden
half
now they
of
have
it
a
done,
mold
they
problem
clean it
and
up so
they
much they don't
their
care.
assets are trash.
Yeah, I mean, considering the pricing on housing has gone up, in the last 20 years tremendously. They're sitting fat because they're like, okay, this house that 25 years ago would have sold for 110. 10 years ago somebody bought it for 320. So they're like, so I guess, you know, to them they're making a shitload of money.
What shirt are you wearing?
It's a Brave shirt. So I
Man,
see you over
we didn't.
there.
I didn't know it
How
was.
did you
I
end
didn't
up?
know it was baseball themed today.
This is the
I
first thing that
never. I
comes to
don't
my
like
closet.
baseball at all.
No, I'm
I just.
not a big
This
fan
was
myself.
my nephew worked for this was one of his like warm up. This My nephew worked for the Yankees. He was so he gave it to me. I don't know, a long time ago.
Yeah,
So
but yeah, I'm just pull this out of
I'm
the
not.
closet. It's like,
I
okay,
don't like baseball.
no, that's too slow for me, man. And the rules are too weird. I see stuff online all the time about the weirdest rules. I'm like, that's dumb.
I think you have to be a statistician, and it's funny because I love statistics and I love numbers, but the people who are like baseball fans, they have to like they get so invested in the numbers,
Yeah,
right? They just they're super analytical in that sense, and I
yeah, I
just
can't.
never had the patience to learn the rules of baseball. I like stuff where if the other guy's getting ahead, you can mess him up. That's I liked hockey, I liked lacrosse, and I love fighting.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
got to be physical, man. I don't know. It's
in
about
lacrosse,
us.
man, you can just take them out. I mean, there are a little more rules in hockey, maybe, but and then martial arts, kickboxing. Well, that's the whole
Yeah.
idea.
Oh yeah.
Over till it's over. It don't matter. Don't leave it to the scorecard. Don't leave it to the judges.
Don't leave it to the judges. Knock the guy out.
Well, I mean, that's a thing. That is advice in
Right.
the fighting world. Do not leave it to the judges.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't leave it to the judges. Well, I mean, our
Yes.
time's getting short here today. It's good catching up. We'll have to get into some more craziness. There's some things about more into realtor things. I've been seeing some weird realtor things. We'll chat about it next week. But
Sounds
um,
good, man.
everybody's pushing like, oh, the rate drops like a tenth. It's time to buy.
I think it's going to be a little slower than everybody, including myself. Man, I thought they would be down by the end of last summer. I thought they'd start going down into the sixes.
Yeah.
I'm talking residential mortgage rates, and that was the fundamentals. That's what the numbers were telling us when you looked at the economic news. But the problem is not taking into consideration how much debt was incurred
Hmm.
artificially or whatever you want to say
Right.
during COVID, and how much our man it makes no sense. If you ran a household the way they run our economy, you'd be living on the streets. We're
Well,
we're
that's the
we're
government.
giving money to countries, like think of some of these incentives. I don't want to talk politics, but we're giving money to countries that don't love us, but it's not our money. It's not taxpayer money. It's not money
Mhm.
we've raised. It's money we're borrowing from other countries that don't love us.
Yeah.
So we're getting money from China. I mean, no kidding, and giving it to you know countries that hate us as well. It makes no sense.
Oh yeah.
And
Well,
that now the
we'll
the
figure it
the,
out.
the
You
national
know.
debt, the debt service on the national debt is is more than, I mean, we couldn't pay it off. We couldn't
Well,
pay it off in a thousand
Ecuador's
years.
looking good right now, man. Ecuador's looking good right now.
Brother,
So
man, I'm telling you what, as long as there's an internet connection and a beach, I'm okay.
yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see if I stick around in the U.S. for too much longer. I don't know. But anyway, it was good talking to you, Michael. I'll catch up with you
Peace
next
out,
week,
brother.
man.
All
All
right,
right. See
man.
you
Take
later.
care. Have a good one.